We have opened a new book, welcome to the pit. Welcome to fattening. 3 years ago, the third-generation only daughter of the Kyoto Mens was expelled from her family and has since been without a trace. 3 years later, the most powerful conglomerate in Dongcheng, Tuoyuan International, stood out with its beautiful appearance and outstanding performance. Nian has always admitted that she has her own calculations when approaching Gu Jingyun. But in the end, she also calculated her heart. Gu Jingyun, the youngest and most handsome and wealthy business genius in Dongcheng, has an outstanding appearance and swift methods. He seems to be insulated from the opposite sex, but when he meets Nian, his heart is no longer calm. During an interview, the reporter asked Mr. Gu, "Are there any regrets in this life?" Mr. Gu pondered for a moment and shook his head gently. "Encountering Mrs. Gu is the final step in my life's fulfillment." Keywords of the novel. Find his wife Gu without a pop-up window, find his wife Gu's complete collection download, find his wife Gu's latest chapters to read. Chapter 1. President of Tuoyuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. President of Tuoyuan. In June, the air in Dongcheng, which had been exposed to scorching sunlight for a whole day, emitted a scorching atmosphere. Nian got off the black commercial vehicle specially assigned by the company and was immediately enveloped by this heat wave. "Thank you, master." Nian got off the car and politely thanked the driver, Xiao Lu. He then carried a small shoulder bag with silver patches in one hand and a fluffy gray-white evening dress skirt in the other hand, heading straight to the lobby of the Ruijing Hotel. The silver 7-centimeter thin-heeled leather shoes made a clanging sound due to her hurried footsteps. With the arrival of Nian, the first-floor lobby of the magnificent Ruijing Hotel, where several people had been chatting happily and whispering, all turned their gaze. The sound in the air instantly froze, and it took a few seconds to hear a few inhaling sounds and the sound of stealing inquiries. "Who is this? I haven't seen it before. Who's next to you, TSK? You really have a long face." Nian seemed accustomed to this kind of voice, and she didn't have time to deal with these surprised, curious, and exploratory gazes. "Nian. Over here." Looking in the direction of the sound, Nian saw Yuan Mengjia waving at her at the circular arch escalator leading to the second floor. Nian went to the market department of Tuoyuan to report on the first day today, and was temporarily assigned the work of this female companion in the evening. Yuan Mengjia was clearly stunned by the person in front of him. Although he greeted Nian from a distance, the surprise in his eyes was hard to conceal. "Mr. Gu is on the second floor, and tonight your job is to stay by Mr. Gu's side and be his girlfriend. Remember to be clever and learn to observe your words and expressions, you know. Oh, by the way, can you drink? But it's okay, as Mr. Gu's girlfriend doesn't need to block the drink." Yuan Mengjia led Nian down the circular staircase to the reception hall on the second floor, explaining as they walked. Nian lifted her skirt and almost jogged to keep up with Yuan Mengjia's footsteps. When she heard the words, "Mr. Gu," she paused and looked up at Yuan Mengjia. "Mr. Gu?" "Yeah. Mr. Gu. The president of Tuoyuan International." Yuan Mengjia seemed to have anticipated the young and beautiful girl in front of her to have such a reaction, and was not surprised. She reached out and took Nian with her, asking her to continue walking towards the living room with her. Nian felt a faint sweat in her palms. Since entering Tuoyuan, Gu Jingyun's name has been constantly mentioned in her ear. But she didn't expect to get so close to this big shot. In Dongcheng, Gu Jingyun is a legendary figure. It is said that 7 years ago, when Gu Jingyun took over Gu's enterprise from his father, it was still a medium-sized enterprise that started with star-rated hotels and had no status in the eastern city. Just 7 years have passed, and the former Gu family has developed into the current Tuoyuan International, already ranking among the most powerful large corporations in Dongcheng. And Gu Jingyun, the young CEO of Tuoyuan, has also firmly sat in the position of the richest man in Dongcheng. No one expected that Gu Jingyun was only 30 years old this year. Nian was thinking about these things and had already followed Yuan Mengjia to the entrance of the reception hall. Two tall men wearing black straight suits stood apart at the entrance of the reception hall. After some questioning, the vermilion solid wood door was gently pushed open, and the spacious and bright, elegantly decorated and upscale reception hall caught the eye. A few people who were chatting in the black leather sofa area looked up slightly when they saw someone coming. Nian entered the reception hall and naturally looked up, just in front of the man sitting in the center of the sofa area. Hi. Long time no see, the new book has opened a pit. Thank you for your attention. Reading for collection, happy every day. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. President of Tuoyuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. President of Tuoyuan. The heart seemed to miss a beat, and then it continued to beat twice before returning to normal. Nian did not expect that Gu Jingyun, as rumored, would have such an outstanding appearance. He was young and handsome, yet calm and mature, with the cheerful temperament of a young man and the domineering aura of a superior. After working at Tuoyuan International for 2 years, every time Nian saw Gu Jingyun, she only saw his figure from afar. When Gu Jingyun appeared, he was always accompanied by a large group of people who were forever praised by the stars. Even small figures like them could only see their shadows from a distance. At this moment, a hint of something unusual flashed in Gu Jingyun's dark and calm eyes, which was brief and almost fleeting. Seeing the visitor, I only looked for a few seconds before continuing to chat with the people around me. Manager Yuan, is this? The person asking is Wen Dong, the special assistant next to Gu Jingyun. Oh. Wen Zhu, this is Nian, a new member of the marketing department. She has been arranged to be Mr. Gu's girlfriend tonight. Do you think there is anything you need to explain? Yuan Mengjia's tone was slightly pleasing. Where's Meng Tian? Wen Dong frowned after listening to Yuan Mengjia's words, and his questioning tone was slightly skeptical, but he didn't forget to look up and down at Nian in front of him with his eyes. In terms of appearance, Nian is much more outstanding than Meng Tian, but being able to be a female companion for the president of Tuoyuan International is not just about outstanding appearance. Yuan Mengjia was questioned, and his tone inevitably quickened, his expression quite awkward. Sorry Wenju, Meng Tian is on vacation and currently not in the local area, Yuan Mengjia explained. The evening party was arranged on a temporary basis. When Yuan Mengjia received the notice, it was already after 3 p.m. She contacted Meng Tian and learned that she was in another province and could not come back in time. Therefore, she had to temporarily replace her with the newly transferred Nian. Nian has an outstanding appearance, and it is difficult to find a beautiful girl like her throughout Tuoyuan. When Dong's gaze turned toward Nian again, and he let out a slight sigh, as if he could only accept his fate. Nian, right. Then you come with me. Wen Dong said. 10 minutes later, Wen Dong explained the things that needed attention to Nian and brought her to Gu Jingyun. The several CEOs who had just sat with Gu Jingyun have left, leaving only Gu Jingyun in the sofa area. He was wearing a specially made smoky gray shirt that perfectly fitted his tight upper body. The cuffs were casually rolled up to the upper end of his elbow, revealing a slightly white and tight forearm, as well as a Swiss steel watch with a light blue outer shell on his left wrist. He wore a light dark gray suit underneath. Mr. Gu, this is the secretary of the marketing department, your female companion tonight, Wen Dong said, slightly bending his upper body in half a meter away from Gu Jingyun. After listening, Gu Jingyun did not respond. Instead, he picked up the light blue porcelain glazed teacup in front of him with his slender thumb and middle finger, and slowly sipped it on his mouth. That Meng Tian is your usual female companion on vacation, Wen Dong explained again. Well, I got it. Gu Jingyun put down his teacup and raised his eyes slightly. His deep black eyes began to scrutinize the person in front of him. The black hair was loosely coiled, revealing a bright and full forehead, big eyes were bright and clear, the face was thin with foundation make-up, light smoke makeup, soft pink-red lips, a gray-white long yarn dress with sloping shoulders outlined a slightly thin, but well-arranged figure, especially the exposed right shoulder and arms were white and shiny, like a layer of silver powder under the light. Gu Jingyun rarely looks at an unfamiliar woman with such eyes. I have to admit, the person in front of me is indeed very eye-catching, especially the gaze of the opposite sex. New book serialization period, pure needs encouragement, don't criticize if you don't like it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Temporary Female Companion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Temporary Female Companion, Sit Down. Gu Jingyun slightly lifted his chin and nodded at the single sofa on his right side. With just one word, he withdrew his gaze and began to focus on the tea set in front of him. When Dong's originally nervous expression suddenly relaxed and nodded at Yuan Mengjia who had been waiting at the door. This level has been passed. Nian didn't stay for too long, instinctively gripping the shoulder bag next to him with his right hand, and sitting down with his left hand turning the skirt back half a circle. A faint aroma of tea permeated the air, and even if one did not understand tea art, Nian could still smell it as the finest Taiguanyin. Gu Jingyun stopped speaking and the reception room quieted down, occasionally hearing the sound of porcelain colliding. Nian calmed down slightly from his initial nervousness and looked involuntarily at the exquisite tea table in front of him. Gu Jingyun has a pair of slender and fair hands, which makes people unable to move their eyes when they see them. Especially now, walking back and forth between light blue teacups and teapots with both hands gives people a visual enjoyment. Drinking tea. In the delicate light blue teacup, a faint brown halo of tea color was pushed over. Nian was instantly alert and quickly regained consciousness from his own loss of composure. Gu Jingyun asked with a drink tea, but without hesitation, he placed the tea cup in front of her. There is a strong sense of propriety before soldiers. Thank you. Nian nodded in gratitude and quickly picked up the teacup in front of him. He first took a deep breath under his nose and then took a light sip. A faint freshness of tea naturally spreads in the mouth. Miss C knows tea art very well. Gu Jingyun asked. I don't quite understand, it's just that I've read too much before. Nian put the tea cup into the tea table and lowered his head to reply. Gu Jingyun pushed another cup of tea to Nian again, and only then did he take another third cup and slowly savor it. Have you never participated in such an activity before? After just taking a sip of tea, Gu Jingyun put down his teacup and had no intention of fighting again. Instead, he relaxed and leaned his upper body back, with a slender arm naturally resting on the back of the sofa. Nian's eyelids drooped, and she knew that the person in front of her was openly looking at her, but she didn't have the courage to be like him. Equality between people is built on the basis of equality of money and status. She and the CEO of Tuoyuan in front of her obviously do not belong to the same level. I used to attend several events with Mr. Liu in the business department, usually with colleagues. In the business department, when discussing business with clients, attending product launches, or celebratory banquets, Nian always stands in the most inconspicuous position. Well, don't worry, just stay on my right side for a while. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gu. After chatting a few more words, Wen Dong came in to remind Gu Jingyun that the party would start soon. Tonight's party is actually a charity fundraising event led by the Dongcheng Commercial Association. They can't hold a fundraising event like this less than 5 times a year, and they will all gather people from the East City business community to participate with various clear intentions. In fact, to put it simply, it means regularly calling on these big bosses not to hide their money when they have it, but to take out some when they have nothing to do good deeds, help the poor and weak, and also give themselves a good reputation. This fundraising activity did attract the attention of the business leaders in Dongcheng during its early stages. You should know that donating millions is not a big deal for them, earning a reputation as a philanthropist is the most important thing. However, over time, charitable fundraising activities have taken on another purpose, becoming an opportunity for some companies to exchange and cooperate with each other. Especially for some medium-sized enterprises, they can use this activity to climb up the relationships with large financial conglomerates and strive for opportunities for cooperation. Add a bookmark here, you won't lose it. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Charity Evening Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Charity Evening Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Charity Evening Party. Duan didn't say the rest. Nian lowered his head slightly, his fingers unconsciously playing with the lace protruding from the waist of the dress, pretending not to hear their conversation. The two chairmen of the Chamber of Commerce, who are over 50 years old, one of them has a Mediterranean-style hairstyle. After listening to their conversation, an elusive expression appeared on their faces and they chuckled twice. Mr. Gu and Duan Xiao are truly young, and their friendship is truly extraordinary. Duan Qinxian was greatly praised, and from childhood to adulthood, his proudest thing was that people placed him and Gu Jingyun together. The Gu and Duan families have had a strong friendship since their ancestors, and later each developed their own careers, both of which prospered. In their generation, they have become two prominent families in the eastern city. However, there is not much correlation between the two businesses. Tuoyuan mainly focuses on the real estate, hotel, and investment industries, while Huanyu mainly focuses on news and entertainment. After chatting a few irrelevant words, the party officially began. The host delivered a grandiose speech on stage, followed by a speech from the organizer. When a special guest was needed to speak, the organizer warmly invited Gu Jingyun. However, Gu Jingyun only shook his head slightly and made a gesture of invitation before refusing to speak on stage. Gu Jingyun did not come on stage, so naturally other people below the stage had no qualifications to cross over. Therefore, this segment was directly skipped by the organizer with a rather awkward expression. The second stage is the highlight, the product bidding stage. There are a total of 12 collections participating in the auction. Most of these auction items were raised by well-known individuals, who then participated in the bidding process to raise funds for charity. Nian has some knowledge about such activities. These products are different from cultural relics, and most of them only have collection value without any room for appreciation. In fact, this kind of activity is just under some guys, using empty hands to lure white wolves. The first item to start the auction is a calligraphy and painting. This calligraphy and painting was not created by everyone, but by a 6-year-old child at a youth palace in Dongcheng. The painting skills are very simple, and the foundation is only beginner's simple brush color painting. But the reason why this painting was taken out is because there is a touching story in the painting. It is an old man with white hair leaning on a cane, standing under a big tree waiting for his son who has not returned from work. What the old man doesn't know is that his son passed away in an accident 6 months ago and will never come back. The auctioneer finished telling this story with great emotion, and there were already soft sobs from the audience. Among them, the majority are women. Sigh. Why haven't you been moved? Look at them, your eyes are crying and swollen. Duan Qinxian suddenly asked Nian. At the beginning of the auction, Duan Qinxian moved to the left side of Gu Jingyun. He glanced around, especially at the tearful faces of the two ladies beside him, and then glanced at Nian who had been sitting quietly next to Gu Jingyun. As soon as Duan Qinxian said these words, Nian looked at him, and she really didn't feel anything moving. Sad things happen every day, which are inevitable tragedies of social development one after another. Nian just doesn't want to indulge in the sadness of others too much. At this moment, Gu Jingyun was bowing his head to reply to the electronic document, but his attention was quickly diverted. He turned his head to look at Nian, who happened to collide with his gaze as he looked towards Dongcheng. Tonight, the new girlfriend beside him was very quiet. Since sitting down, she has been sitting quietly, making him forget that this person still exists. Nian's thin lips slightly curled up, as if expecting to meet Gu Jingyun in the eye, without dodging. Her bright eyes curved in a curve, effectively concealing her emotions. But Gu Jingyun still sensed a hint of disdain in her eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Don't try to trick her, it's just a company employee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Don't try to trick her, it's just a company employee. Sorry, I just lost my mind. Nian's gaze lingered on Gu Jingyun's face for a few seconds, and he replied to Dongcheng's question with an apologetic smile. After sitting down, Nian kept facing the auction table, only then did he turn his face towards Dongcheng and give a slight smile, which stunned the person in front of him. Dongcheng is known for his venomous tongue. It doesn't matter at first glance, but he swallowed it when it reached his mouth. Damn it. Lao Gu, where did you find your girlfriend? Just now she smiled at me, and my heart is still beating. The so-called beautiful country and city is just like that. TSK. After calming down, Dongcheng lowered his voice and said to Gu Jingyun. Gu Jingyun just finished replying to the document, clicked send, and then put away his phone and placed it next to the table in front of him. He picked up a cigarette and lit it. What's going on? Your mother hasn't been urging you to go on a blind date lately, has she? Gu Jingyun exhaled a puff of smoke and asked. Got it. I was wrong. Being exposed, Dongcheng clasped his fists and begged for mercy. Don't tell your old lady when you go back. If this gets to my old lady's ears, she's very likely to find a woman on the main road and will have to suppress me into the Civil Affairs Bureau. Don't try to trick her, it's just a company employee. Gu Jingyun said casually as he exhaled a mouthful of smoke. The two of them didn't have much voice and quickly changed the topic, talking about several recent investment projects. The auction activities on stage are also continuing. During this period, Dongcheng fell in love with a gorgeous horse-face dress and jumped from 100,000 to 1 million, overwhelming the entire audience to capture this dress. After the horse-faced skirt, the atmosphere on site seemed to become increasingly lively. Nian went to the restroom midway, and when he returned to his seat, he saw an extra white license plate in Gu Jingyun's hand. Most of the 12 auction items in the venue have already been auctioned off, and as a key guest tonight, Gu Jingyun cannot return empty-handed. Take a picture of the last pair of bracelets. As soon as Nian sat down, she heard Gu Jingyun say to herself. A surprised look appeared on Nian's face without concealment. Throughout the night, as Gu Jingyun's female companion, Nian thought she would always play the role of little transparent, but was unexpectedly assigned this job. Although the auction items at the venue are displayed one by one, each table has an introduction and pictures of all the auction items. Nian hesitated for a moment before nodding and reaching out to take the license plate from Gu Jingyun's hand. I don't know what the price is in Mr. Gu's mind. Nian asked. Upon hearing this, Gu Jingyun turned his head and his gaze stopped on Nian's face. From the beginning of the auction, Nian sat quietly beside him. Unlike her other female companions, she remained silent but did not show any stage fright or detachment. Gu Jingyun asked her to take a bracelet, but she hit the nail on the head and asked him the price in his heart. Gu Jingyun really disdains to argue with others one level at a time. It seems that this little girl understands his ideas very well. Gu Jingyun's mouth curved slightly, and he extended his right index and middle fingers, pointing in front of Nian. The final auction item is a pair of pure-colored emerald bracelets, which are the first pair of the latest products from a southern craft workshop. The starting price for this pair of bracelets is 500,000 yuan, and as soon as the price is set, the market becomes lively. When the auction price rose to 1.7 million, Nian raised his sign and shouted directly, 20 million. The air remained still for a few seconds. Miss, please repeat it again. The auction host was obviously a bit incredulous. Mr. Gu, president of Tuoyuan International, offered 20 million yuan. 20 million times. 20 million 2 times. 23 million times. Okay, deal. Congratulations to Mr. Gu for winning the last pair of emerald bracelets at this auction for 20 million yuan, and thank you to Mr. Gu Jingyun for his support of this auction fundraising event. A total of 27.23 million yuan was collected from this fundraising event, which will be used for. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Ruijing Garden. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 7 Ruijing Garden. After the auction session, there will be a self-service dinner arranged by Ruijing Hotel for the guests. At the beginning of the banquet, a group of people gathered around Gu Jingyun. With such an opportunity, all CEOs will naturally not miss it. Nian took the opportunity to leave, picked up a few cakes from the dining table, poured himself a glass of juice, and sat down in a corner. It's already past 9 o'clock, dinner time has passed by the wrong time, and Nian didn't plan to eat anything. He used a fork to poke the cheesecake a few times, but there was no appetite. The people around Gu Jingyun came wave after wave, seemingly endless. Nian couldn't sit still. When she came, her phone ran out of battery and automatically turned off. It's almost time for her to video with her mother and the tree every day. But at this point, she cannot take the initiative to leave. Nian's eyes became somewhat anxious and he looked towards Gu Jingyun. As if sensing something, Gu Jingyun, who was originally holding a tall cup and lowering his head to play, lifted his head. His dark eyes immediately caught Nian's gaze. This is tonight, the third time the two are looking at each other. A few minutes later, Gu Jingyun declined the enthusiastic invitation from the group and led Nian out of the door of the Ruijing Hotel. Wen Dong is already standing next to the black extended Rolls-Royce Phantom car. Under the illumination of the lights, the black car body appears to be coated with a seductive luster, black and imposing, like a sword ready to be fired at any time. Nian followed Gu Jingyun out and was blown by the wind in front of her. A few strands of loose hair scattered down her shoulders and cheeks. In the evening breeze of June, there is no trace of humid heat, but rather pure dryness. Although the temperature is high, it is not annoying. Mr. Gu, my home is not far from here. You can go back by yourself, so it won't be troublesome. When Gu Jingyun sat in the back seat and looked up at himself outside the car door, Nian leaned forward and refused his kindness. It's so late, you're not safe as a girl. Get in the car. Gu Jingyun's tone had an undeniable coldness. Miss C, please. Wen Dong reached out and made a gesture of invitation. Okay. Thank you, said Nian, thanking him. After getting on the car, Nian reported the name of his residential area. Assistant 1, I'm going to Ruijing Garden. Okay. After getting on the car, Wen Dong nodded to Nian and then explained to the driver a few words before sitting up straight and staring at the road ahead. The Phantom slowly started and turned right before quickly merging into the night. As soon as Gu Jingyun got into the car, he turned on the car-mounted laptop and placed his focus on it with his right hand supporting his chin. The car quickly quieted down. The dimly lit lights flipped backwards one by one with the speeding car body. Ruijing Hotel is located in the center of Dongcheng, which is the busiest area in the city. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as every inch of land and every inch of gold. The residential area where Nian currently resides, Ruijing Garden, is located on the West Road section of the city center. It is an old residential area from decades ago and the only undeveloped old residential area in the central area of the city. More than 40 years ago, Ruijing Garden was the dormitory building for the faculty and staff of Dongcheng Research Building. After some renovation, it was expanded into several 7-story unit buildings. Most of the people living in Ruijing Garden are retired researchers who have made significant contributions to the development of Dongcheng in the last century. That's also why the surrounding areas of the DC district center have all been developed, except for Ruijing Garden. 10 minutes later, the Black Phantom stopped at the entrance of Ruijing Garden. Nian smiled at the corner of his mouth and said goodbye to Gu Jingyun. "Goodbye, Mr. Gu." Gu Jingyun focused on an email in front of him. When he heard Nian's words, a hint of confusion appeared in his eyes. He looked out through the car window and nodded slightly when he saw a row of yellowed characters on a row of blue, gray, and blue bricks at the entrance. "Only a few tickets, I'm really sorry to lick my face and ask for tickets. If. Forget it, I still hope everyone supports me." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Market Department 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Market Department 1. Watching the Black Phantom disappear at the corner ahead, Nian walked straight home without stopping. She lives on the 3rd floor. Because it is an old building with low floors, there is no elevator equipped here. Nian had been wearing high heels for several hours, and her feet were numb with pain. She took off her shoes when entering the door and almost couldn't stand steadily. The pain in her soles made her gasp for breath. I waited for my phone to charge before turning it on. It was already 10:30 p.m. and I missed the video with Tree. A few messages flashed in on the WeChat page of the phone, which were messages from my mother. If so, why not take the video? Is it because work is too busy? Shu woke up at noon and couldn't find you. She's getting angry. I'll take her to the park to play for a while. No matter how busy my work is, remember to eat and reply to messages. Don't make me worry. If you don't have time in the future, just let me know in advance. Nian opened his phone notebook, which happened to be around 3 p.m. in the afternoon in Switzerland, which happened to be the time for Tree's early education class. Nian clicked on the voice, left a message for his mother and the Tree, reported safety, and sat on the sofa for a while before getting up and taking out his pajamas and entering the restroom. After taking a shower and coming out, my mother's WeChat also sent me a gesture of okay, followed by a photo of a tree sticking its butt and playing games during early education class. In the photo, the little guy is wearing 2 small crooked braids, with a chubby little face that is pink and translucent, and his expression is focused on listening to the teacher's guidance on movements. Nian's eyes were a bit sour. The last time we met was Christmas, and it has been half a year since we last saw Mom and Tree. Although he knew they were living well there, and the air and environment were more suitable for children than here, Nian's longing continued to spread in his heart. In the child's heart, she may just be a familiar stranger. Fingers kept tapping on the phone screen, zooming in and out of my photos. The next day, Nian arrived at the Tuoyuan marketing department half an hour early. As a newcomer, she is well aware that this period will be a process from unfamiliarity to familiarity, which may be smooth and difficult. After tidying up the files and cleaning the desktop at my workstation, other colleagues also came to work one after another. On the first day of yesterday's report, her manager Yuan Mengjia took her to the workstation and briefly introduced her to the members of her team. The Tuoyuan market section has 3 floors, from the 25th to the 27th. All employees of Tuoyuan are aware that there is a hierarchy in working at Tuoyuan International. The higher the floor, the higher the level of work at Tuoyuan, and of course, the more generous the salary and benefits. Although the marketing department is a large operational department, there is also a hierarchical division. Just like the 25th floor where Nian is currently located, it is the most grassroots department of the marketing department. The market section on the 25th floor is divided into 3 groups, where everyone competes and constrains each other. Nian is located in a marketing department on the 25th floor, with Yuan Mengjia as the department manager. The marketing department, including Nian, currently has 6 main employees. 4 women and 2 men. The Nian workstation is located in the middle position, with Tang Xiaoqin and Wang Yaya on either side. The two of them seem to be at odds, and the workstation that should have been next to each other is always empty in the middle. Across from Nian is a girl named Meng Tian. Nian didn't see her yesterday and is said to be on vacation. On both sides of Meng Tian workstation are two men, one named Sun Meng and the other named Fu Weidao. Nian and his group are all relatively young, with the oldest Sun Meng only 29 years old, the rest being Fu Weidao 28 years old, the other three girls Wang Yaya 26 years old, Meng Tian and Tang Xiaoqin both 25 years old. These information are all posted on the information wall of the large conference room in the market department. It can be said that the marketing department on the 25th floor is the youngest combination of the entire marketing department. Moreover, all of them have high looks. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Being Provoked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Being Provoked. Wang Yaya has sharp short hair, a neutral dressing style, and an outgoing personality. As soon as she entered the door, she took the initiative to greet Nian. Hi. Beauty, it's so early. Oh, what's wrong with your eyes? Nian waited for a video with Shu last night, slept a bit late, and couldn't sleep repeatedly in bed. In the morning, she found that her eyes were slightly swollen. I slept late and felt a bit swollen. Is it obvious? Nian didn't have a mirror at hand, but he deliberately covered it up when he was grooming in the morning. Unexpectedly, it was still discovered. Wang Yaya waved his hand and said, if it were on my face, I wouldn't be able to see it at all. However, your face, because it's too perfect, has a slight flaw that can be seen, but it doesn't affect its appearance at all. Nian smiled. From childhood to adulthood, there have been too many people praising her appearance, and she has never heard of such praise. The working hours of all departments in Tuoyuan are around 9 o'clock, and the personnel have basically arrived around 8:50. Today, Nian's job is still to be familiar with the department's rules and regulations and business processes. She used to work in the business department for 9 months, and some basic work was similar, but there were still some differences. Are you the new big shot from the business side? With a hint of disdain in his voice, it came down from above Nian's head. The three characters, de Hongren, were bitten a bit hard. Nian looked up and what caught her eye was a delicate makeup, with deep brown curly long hair. Without much thought, Nian could guess that the person was Meng Tian across from her. Hello, I'm Nian. I just came to report yesterday and will be working together in the future. If you have any questions, please give me some guidance. Nian smiled slightly and had a gentle attitude. Meng Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of strangeness, clearly amazed by the girl across from him with a simple ponytail. In the marketing department, there is no guidance, everything depends on one's abilities. However, it's not obtained by snatching it. Meng Tian said calmly and sat into his workstation. Nian tugged at the corner of her mouth, not commenting on Meng Tian's indifferent attitude. She had been treated with too much disdain in recent years. I have become accustomed to it. Hey. Nian, was it you who stayed by Mr. Gu's side at last night's charity party? Not long after, Tang Xiaoqin's delicate voice came with a hint of sharpness. Nian glanced at the magnified photo on the laptop in front of him. Although Gu Jingyun's photo has been deliberately blurred, familiar people can still distinguish it at a glance. Gu Jingyun rarely gets real exposure in front of the media, and even when logging into search platforms, he can't find a photo of his face. Rumors have it that the president of Tuoyuan International is young and promising, handsome and both righteous and evil. There are also rumors that his methods are ruthless, with a fierce and evil expression on his face, keeping strangers away. At last night's charity party, Gu Jingyun spent a huge sum of 20 million yuan with just one wave of his hand, and the media definitely wanted to report extensively. Gu Jingyun's photo has special attention and will not be exposed, but the people around him are not so lucky. For example, standing at the entrance of the round arched escalator on the second floor, holding his left hand at the bend of Gu Jingyun's arm, standing quietly beside him, Nian. Being caught on the spot. Nian withdrew his gaze and said calmly. It's better to admit generously than deny the impossibility. Wow. You're lucky, tisk tsk. Tang Xiaoqin's tone was pure envy. After pausing for a few seconds, Tang Xiaoqin suddenly said, no wonder Meng Tian's nose was not her nose, and her eyes were not her eyes just now. It turns out that her position has been occupied by you. Of course, you can't say that either. Can the capable occupy it? It's not because she has been Mr. Gu's girlfriend a few times. This position is hers, right? Tang Xiaoqin murmured a few words in a low voice, instinctively touching her face and sighing slightly. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Provocations in the Conference Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Provocations in the Conference Room. The name Meng Tian was heard by Nian several times yesterday, and she probably knew that because of her absence, she had the opportunity to be Gu Jingyun's girlfriend. No wonder she was teased early in the morning. Nian smiled slightly, shook his head, and continued to look at the documents in front of him. Throughout the morning, several people from the market department were busy with their work. Lunch, served in the cafeteria on the 20th floor. Go to work on time at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. As soon as he started working, Yuan Mengjia gathered everyone in the conference room. In the conference room, the central air conditioning maintains a constant temperature of 25 degrees, completely isolating the dry and hot outside the window. There's no need to introduce the newcomer Nian to everyone. In the past, she wasn't considered a newcomer in the business department. In the future, you can take care of her in your work and help her become familiar with it as soon as possible. Our department has multiple people and strengths, Yuan Mengjia said succinctly, officially introducing Nian. At the beginning, it was about assigning tasks. When Yuan Mengjia's explanation was almost over, his fingers casually played with Meng Tian's signature pen and he spoke. Sister Yuan, since a newcomer has arrived, should she share the workload with everyone? Meng Tian's words fell, and the conference room suddenly fell silent. Yuan Mengjia clearly did not expect Meng Tian to make such a fuss. For their marketing department, Nian is still considered a new employee. According to normal procedures, there are no specific work arrangements for the first 3 months of a new employee's employment. Although Nian's situation has been transferred from the business department, there must be at least 1 month of adaptation before specific work can be arranged. Meng Tian's blatant provocation was only briefly understood by Yuan Mengjia after a moment of contemplation. With a white conference table in both hands, Yuan Mengjia stood in the middle and looked down at the 6 people. Meng Tian finished his request and continued to play with his signature pen, his eyes full of provocation. The other few were all watching each other, and there was no intention of anyone speaking first. What are your opinions? Yuan Mengjia said. This is a great opportunity to see how cohesive the soldiers under her command are. Sun Meng spoke up first and said, is it too early to let Nian become more familiar and familiar? It didn't take long to say this, but it didn't offend anyone. Among the few present, Sun Meng is the oldest and has already expressed his opinion. Fu Weidao can only continue to speak. However, before speaking, his gaze drifted towards Meng Tian. Nian is not actually a new employee anymore. Why don't we arrange for work first? If you don't understand, can you ask? We don't recommend taking her with us. What's your opinion, the two of you? Yuan Mengjia asked Wang Yaya and Tang Xiaoqin sitting on the left and right sides of Nian. Wang Yaya. I think Meng Gu is right. Can't he bully the newcomers? Tang Xiaoqin originally intended to speak first, but was snatched by Wang Yaya, so her tone naturally wasn't very good. Nian is not considered a newcomer either. Don't underestimate people who says she is not capable of these tasks. Maybe she does even better than someone else. Tang Xiaoqin finished speaking and lifted her chin in the direction of Wang Yaya. The two people always have different opinions. Meng Tian raised the corner of his mouth and glanced at Xi Nian. Among the 5 people, 3 had the same opinion as her. Xi Nian, what do you have in mind? Yuan Mengjia finally sought the opinions of the parties involved. Starting from the afternoon meeting, Xi Nian sat aside and listened attentively, occasionally taking notes on her laptop. When Meng Tian pointed his finger at her, she sat quietly listening to everyone. It seems that this matter has nothing to do with her. I'll follow the manager's arrangement, said Xi Nian, giving a reply from Yuan Mengjia. Listen to the manager's arrangements. Simple and clear. It is to obey the instructions of the leader, which is the first requirement in the rules and regulations of the marketing department. Thank you for the ticket of Mingyue Banking Feng 299, Bixin. End of this chapter.